look amazing. It's always nice to show up on stage and have a full room of people to talk to. And I'm really honored to have been invited to speak today. What I'm going to do, my topic is dream. And so I'm going to share my story, most of which you probably don't know within this topic. And my hope for you as you listen today is that you take the bits and pieces from my story and find what fits for you. And keep in mind the people that you know, that you care about, that you'll be working with in this business, or maybe that you already are working with in this business, and how it can apply to them too. And so I'm going to go back as we start. For those of you that may be hearing me for the first time, my background was as a professional clinical esthetician and massage therapist, and I had that business that I built. I started it when I was 20. And I built it on the back of two very limiting beliefs. One, that nobody could do it as good as I could do it, therefore I had no leverage because everyone came to see me. And the second limiting belief that I built that business on was that whatever came to me is what I deserved. And so I never did any marketing or advertising in that business, and over the course of 8 years, built it by referral to over 1,000 people. And in 2004, I had a pretty big life-changing event, went through a divorce, and found myself thinking there's got to be more to life than working 6 days a week, 8 to 10 clients a day, even though I loved my work, and what I did was really fulfilling. And so I began to think about that, and there was something in my heart that knew that there was more. There was more for me to be, there was more for me to do. And so I changed careers at that point. I went into real estate thinking I could have a better life, I could work with more people and make a bigger difference. And in 2005, started the dreaming process, because I don't really believe that I ever dreamt before that. And the reason why I started to dream was because I invested in myself and some personal development as I entered the real estate industry. And I found myself sitting in a class called Quantum Leap, which is about looking at all areas of my life. And I remember being asked the question, if tomorrow I went to the mailbox and there was a check for $100,000 that had to be used, invested, spent by the end of that day, or it would go away, what would I do with that money? And I was asked to journal. I'm going to ask you to think about that right now. What would you do? And then the next day, go out to that same mailbox, and again, there's a check for $100,000 that if you didn't use, invest, or spend in some way, that it went away. Now what would you do? And after going through that process over and over and over again, it expanded the way that I thought and opened up my mind to really dream. And what it got down to was that if money were no option, what I would be doing is traveling, speaking in the form of personal development of some sort, and my passion since I was a little girl was to be working with horses. And that is where that dream really started. Now, there's some key things about dreaming, because you see here, I actually found this cleaning out my office just about 3 weeks ago. And my 1-year goal in May of 2005 was that I wanted to be out and pay off all my debt. Well, I quickly learned the hard way that because the mind thinks in pictures, instead of paying off my debt, within 2 years I had quadrupled my debt. And so that was a lesson learned about dreaming, is to focus on the picture of what you do want, not what it is that you're working to get rid of or that you don't want. And so those things are so key in your dreams. And there's some other things on here that happened, some of them didn't. Yet in 2007, because the market and the economy with real estate really was in the toilet, that is when New Skin found me. And what I saw was I could fulfill what those passions were, those dreams were that I had using this as a platform. And so I started my business in December of 2007, and I had my first paid-for trip as a Ruby in 2008. I had never traveled that wasn't on my own dime before I came to New Skin. So I started to dream about the things that were important. And in 2011, I had these images up. I put them in picture form, and I had them all over my house. And everywhere that I would open a cabinet, there they were sitting looking back at me. And some of those things started to happen too. But I wasn't really satisfied with how fast they were happening. I thought, I gotta accelerate this process, and how can I accelerate the process? So what I learned and what I continue to learn was that I had to get more of an emotional connection to what my dream was. Because I had an intellectual connection to it, but the emotional connection wasn't at the level for that dream to be realized. I still wasn't a blue diamond. I wasn't where I wanted to be in the business. In my personal life, still wasn't, I was on the path, yet not there. It's like, how do we speed this up? And so I learned to put myself in that place. Here's actually a picture. Rick and I love the water, and this is a picture of our dream home in Pacific Grove, which is a small town between Monterey and Carmel in California. And this specific home was for sale. We fell in love with it. And so on this particular day when he called me, you can see my phone sitting there. He said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm sitting in our front yard." And I could feel like owning this house. And I'm writing in my journal, I'm there with Koa, our dog, and I'm writing about our life in this house and our life together and our future. And he's like, "You're a realtor. You can't go sit in someone else's front yard when the house is for sale." I'm like, "Well, there's nobody here stopping me." And this is like really important in the path of my dreams because I could feel it inside of me shifting and changing because I put myself in the environment to have that experience. And that is so key with whatever your dreams are, to be able to have it, like you can see it, you can feel it, you can taste it, you can touch it, so that you know what it feels like when you're in that environment. And so we didn't get that house. Yet fast forward 2 years later to 2015, and as I was doing my recap of this last year, I was like, wow, this was a pretty incredible year. Didn't get the house, but we got married. And that was probably the biggest dream of them all because there's an 8-year story behind that, which I'm not going to take the time to tell today, but that was a pretty amazing thing to have happen in January of this year. And so even more incredible was that I could take the time to plan that. And we did it in about 65 days, got everything planned and done. And then in February, found ourselves on the trip for free, which ended up being our honeymoon in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic. Again, an amazing experience. And then realizing there that it was time to expand the dreams and really get to work and lead by example to show our team what was possible. So this is March, the last day in March of qualification, where each of us on the phones more than 13 hours each that day and worked up until the final deadline to get that job done. And then in April, just shortly after that, we headed out on a plane, our first trip together to go work with our teams in Denmark and Sweden, and then attend the Success Summit in Spain, fulfilling again another one of our dreams to be able to travel together. And then in June, we went to a leadership retreat with our group, and this is really where those dreams started to expand again because the conversation of the market of Chile opening came up. And you know, I was like, I have learned when it comes to my dreams, whatever I have resistance on is usually what there is for me to do. And so know that about your dreams too, because that's where the magic is. So there was someone on my team, Beth Bowles, that is committed to the market, she's going, and I'm thinking to myself, I am not in any way, shape, or form ready to go tackle that because oops, if we can go back to that slide, please. We'll roll through here. In July of the year, our dog, which was like our son, because we don't have children together, was dying of cancer. And so every 4 to 6 hours, he was on a different rotation of meds. And for me, the most important thing was to be at home and taking care of him. And that was a really challenging month. But it was a really great month, too. Because I've been building this business, and so I could. And then in August, through the support of Rick and helping us stay qualified, we attended the Success Trip in Alaska. And then in October, we're recognized as Stars and Blue Diamonds at convention. And in September, had started making those monthly trips to Chile and was there for the Chile opening. So that was 2015. And so we're heading into December, I get this email about speaking here on the topic of dreams, and my heart kind of fell out from underneath me because I'm I'm like, dreams? What am I going to talk about? Dreams. And so I went and I got this journal, and I figured, well, maybe if I get this journal about dreams and I take it with me and I start writing in it, I'll be able to develop and speak on this topic at Success Summit. And so that went with me on the flight in December to Chile, except for it didn't make it off the flight. It was still in the package, and I had left it in the seat back pocket, of course. Really not ready to get into that subject. And so then coming through the airport, walked through a store and found this, which was a gift that I wouldn't have found had I not been on the trip. And what I recognized once I sat down and actually started to look at it was what happened. Why had I stopped dreaming? And I looked at 2015, and what I recognized was that aside from getting married and having that be the most magical, beautiful day ever, that for so many years I had thought about these other things, about traveling, about becoming a Blue Diamond, about all these things. And because I had been thinking about it for so long, when they actually happened, it was so anticlimactic, it didn't feel anything like I expected it was going to, and I was on to the next thing already. And that can happen with your dreams if you've been fixated on them for so long. But the lesson, when I took a moment to go even deeper, was that really I was in a place of lacking gratitude. Because as I looked at the year of 2015, some people would, hope to have that happen over a 10-year period. And I got to experience that all in 1 year. And so your dreams, whatever those dreams are for you, are only going to be meaningful to the depth that you allow yourself to have gratitude for what they actually are as you accomplish them. And in your journey of leadership, it's about continuing to expand that, continuing to have more gratitude, because in this business, your dreams are also everyone else's dreams for their own reasons, but you're on that journey together. And so as a leader, there's a responsibility to have gratitude from a very humble place, because that's what becomes possible. Because who cares if you accomplish all of your dreams and you're unappreciative for what you created, right? And the work that's gone into them. It makes it insignificant if you duplicate that and replicate that in your team. So developing this topic ended up being a huge gift for me. And so I started to look inward, and I realized, so much of my focus is around building the business, and then we have our personal life and what that encompasses. And I also discovered that I didn't have anything that I was doing for myself. I had passions and things that were important to me that I had put over here for another time, and I'd been doing that for years, thinking, well, when I reach this, then I'll do that. And the truth is, that was living less than what's possible. That is the thinking of I can do this or that, and what's possible is both. And so I made a decision and a commitment to myself that I would re-engage, and so I've set myself up back at lessons at the barn with the trainer that I was working with before to balance out that part of life. Balance, I believe, doesn't really exist in the universe, but you're always going one direction or the next on it. And so as this is happening, I have a thing that I've signed up for. It's at www.tut.com. You can get these daily notes from the universe. So I make this commitment. I'm out at the barn twice in December before getting ready to leave on a trip, and I get this in my daily email. So I'm like, okay, I'm on track. It says, I want you to know, Casey, I've ordered up another year for you. I think I'll call it 2016. I'm going to put most of the same people from 2015 in it, since you all think so much alike. But there'll be also a few new, very cool cats coming to play. Give them some time to grow up, though. And I'm going to have to start things off pretty much exactly where they left off in 2015 for continuity's sake. It flips folks out too much when I don't. All in all, 365 more days in paradise, and only one request of you. Dream bigger. And so I went deeper with that dream and realized, what's it really about? It's about creating freedom for me and my husband so that we can make the impact that we really want to make in the world. And to be able to transition him to where he wants to be with us together, so that we are not going opposite directions in our lives as we build our dreams. And a year ago, this time, January 9th, we were getting married. And as I was getting ready to leave for my trip to Chile, it was really hard this time. I left on Sunday, the 3rd of January, in tears. I had a fever, all kinds of I don't know what coming out the front of my face that shouldn't be, and just feeling awful.